Hello, everyone. How are you doing? This is Daryl Guberman, the CEO of Guberman PMC LLC. Quality consulting firm here in Connecticut as of August will be open for 12 years. We have a very special guest. We have several guests here today. The first one on the line is Mr. Brandon Bochenski from Grand Forks, North Dakota, who made a stand, and he's been on a lot of radio stations, TV stations, and thank you. We sent him a letter, as a matter of fact. We're going to read this letter after he sits down, but he's traveled a long way, and we appreciate him being here. But, Brandon, it was very amazing that you'd stand up to a Chinese company against all odds. That's good. Remember, David and Goliath. That's the way I feel with my business. We tried to educate you in the situation. We were, I know it's only been a day, and I'm one of these people, the go-getter. I'm very passionate about what I am doing out in the world of quality, and I stand my ground. I went down in October of 2022 and picketed ANSI in Washington, D.C., on Northwest Washington. I think it's Avenue L, and it's 1899 is the building without any identification. It's an $84 million company, Brandon, and it's got no identification, both in their New York office, where I also visited prior to Washington, and also their Washington office. Isn't that a tender moment in a turbulent world? And when I stood out with this exact sign behind you that says, ANSI says, have a nut, fuck you. And the reason why we did that is because we applied this past June of 2022. We applied to become a director at large. We get a nice little package from Joe Bathia, the CEO, who says, congratulations as a director at large nominee. Here's some information. They had some click links for their code of conduct. And in 2019, Russ Cheney said that as their code of conduct. Have a nut, fuck you. So I figured that me applying for this director at large to be a representative, as I said in your other video, to you personally, as I'm doing this one to you again, and open your eyes to more situations where you have the FBI not assisting you, dragging their feet. You also have CFIUS, the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States. You'll also find out in this video about the Office of Foreign Asset Control, where ANSI has their hands deeply in the jar of that cookie. There's no cookies in there. There's only a lot of cash. But let's get back to this. So we applied. And guess what? We had 9 questions to answer. And at the bottom of those questions, and I showed that to you in the other video, it was Russ Cheney, the nominating chairman for 2022. So the guy who says half a nut fuck you in 2019 is judging my abilities in 2022. And we have a Miss Patricia Griffin. You'll see her very shortly. Brandon, she made out a letter concerning Russia and its sanctions. They go around these sanctions. I will show you the same thing about how they went around in 2016 when it came to Iran. All right, and I'm not talking about the people of Iran. I'm talking about the politicians, just like here. So Brandon, sit down, relax, and let's go forward. This video today is to illuminate Brandon on why the FBI drags his feet, why the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States should be disbanded, why the Office of Foreign Assets Control should be disbanded. They all work harmoniously together with these not-for-profits, trading cash like candy. So Brandon Bochenski said this: we initially reached out to the FBI, then to CFIUS, the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States Committee. They really came forth with a lackluster answer that left a lot of questions that needed to be answered. Now, down below in the description, you're going to find the article that this references, this video. And you're also going to find my video that I personally sent to Brandon. And I'm going to read you the letter that we sent to Brandon. And if this doesn't get something under your ass to move you, to get to your politicians, and if they don't answer, march upon their offices. Stand outside like I did with ANSI. I had the FBI watching me, okay? In fact, I stopped the guy, said, you want my sign? I had the Secret Service come up to me. This guy had this vest on, like unbelievable. And then a police officer, this tough lady. Now, let me just say this. I'm not a schmuck. 3 weeks before I went to Washington, because even though it's the United States of America, it's a foreign entity when you go several hundred miles away from your house, especially when it comes to the capital of a country. So I studied their laws, I studied their rules and regulations like a good man should, because you don't want to get caught with your pants down, because so many people in ANSI have their pants down. We won't say what they're doing, but needless to say, especially Joe Bathia has his pants down. Please, I wouldn't want to see that picture. But I'm going to say this. Actually, it's Joe Bathia, Russ Cheney, and Jameson Carroll, their attorney. But anyway, we went down there. We did our thing. This lady comes up, a policewoman. I showed her my documentation. I said, call up Police Officer Goss. I was talking with him. I said, I'm only a one-guy deal. I says, you should be fighting a crime. The crime is so bad in Washington. The lady said, who do you represent, Mr. Guberman? I said, who do I represent? Integrity, honesty, and the truth. So I stayed there. But I want to let you know, here's the letter that I sent to the mayor. Mayor Bochenski, who was scratching his head about why the FBI did. The FBI is not for us. They were controlled and manipulated by Communist China between 2015 and 21. I showed that to you in your video. We're not going to rehash it, but we will show you Chris Reagan, because he's here too. So this is what it is, my fellow citizens. And let's bring out, where's Brandon? Here's Brandon. I'll bring him out. And this is the letter I sent with my video, which you'll find down below. Dear Mayor, I am Daryl Guberman, an expert on quality, as well as the CEO of Guberman PMC LLC, a quality management consulting firm in Connecticut. You may wish to consider my qualifications concerning the attached video. In this video, I clearly reveal the proof why our federal government is betraying its citizens. Most recently, you have experienced this betrayal while trying to get assistance from the FBI and CFIUS, the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States, in regards to the disturbance by a red Chinese Fufeng Group, a Chinese-owned biofermentation products manufacturer, and an invading surveillance spy balloon. The length of my video is somewhat extended because I want to be sure that those that are unfamiliar with quality and how it affects all our lives understand its critical significance in national security and domestic defense. While watching, you will come to understand all about why and how federal agencies are controlled and influenced by Communist China from 2015 and 2021. And into the present are actively working to survey, control, and eventually remake our national identity into a socialist puppet state of this red regime. Please feel, once you digest this video, to contact me about any aspect of this national threat. Now I'm going to put you down, Brandon, and read you a couple things. In March of 2016, this was from ANSI concerning the Office of Foreign Assets Control. Impact of U.S. sanctions on international standardization. They talk about these the standards, voluntary consensus standards. They don't work, Brandon. Look at Lockheed Martin. They use standards. 800 F-35s have defects up to including loss of aircraft. An article came out, and I did a video on it. I'll probably put it down below. That said, even though they produced 800 aircraft with defects up to including loss of aircraft, they're still producing the same defects, probably even worse. Unbelievable. They can't get it right after 800 aircraft, and the United States government keeps on buying it because you know why? Our politicians who sit on the Lockheed disbursements, which is in all 50 states, Democrats and Republicans, even in your state, all of them are getting paid by Lockheed Martin, dispersed. Disgusting. And this is what it said. Impact of U.S. sanctions on international standardization. Here's why ANSI ANAB does not follow U.S. State Department sanctions, because they don't have to follow any sanctions on trade with countries. ANSI is protected by the OFAC, which is the Office of Foreign Asset Control, and the U.S. Treasury. And this is what it said in 2016. ANSI anticipates receipt of similar letters from the OFAC relating to Cuba, Iran, and North Korea in due course. So there you go. On top of that, in 2017, there was a ban on travel to Iran. ANSI's statement on ban of travel to U.S. by individuals of certain countries. And here it is. Those countries, Brandon, are the Iran, Iraq, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, and Yemen. And this is what it says, ANSI. ANSI is actively investigating options for remote participation by affected individuals for meetings already scheduled. ANSI is also finding alternative meeting venues outside the United States for future meetings planned this year, but not yet convened. So, Brandon, there you go. ANSI is basically the degradation of our country, as you can see. We're also going to bring out Patricia Griffin. Patricia Griffin, the Vice President General Counsel. Yeah, isn't that nice? Isn't that quaint? Let me read you to what she said about Russia. Yes, unbelievable. March 8th, 2022. The ISO-IEC tag administrators, U.S. appointed secretariats, and ANSI accredited standards developers, we write to address the U.S. government's imposition of economic sanctions against Russia and the possible impact of those sanctions on international trade standards development. We believe that to the extent that international standards development activities involving Russian participants continue during the time the prior interpretive guidance of ANSI received from the U.S. Department of Treasury, Office of Foreign Asset Control, regarding standards development activities involving Iranian participants is relevant here. This means that Russian experts can participate in the standards development process to the extent meetings and activities are for the development and eventual publication and standards. The process is open to the public, and information that is shared is not proprietary or controlled to export to Russia. Information that is proprietary or subject to non-disclosure agreements may be subject to U.S. export licensing requirements or prohibited by disclosure. ANSI recommends that participants consult legal counsel before or during any information that is non-public. Also, Russian participants who are identified by the OFAC on the specially designed nationals list may be subject to additional U.S. government restrictions which may independently inhibit their participation in standard-setting activities. This is an evolving situation that we will continue to evaluate these restrictions. We anticipate issuing additional guidance as soon as we are able. If you have any questions, please contact me directly, Patricia Griffin. In the meantime, we join others throughout the world in a call for peace and an end to the current conflict in the Ukraine. And by the way, Ukraine and Russia both sit on the International Accreditation Forum. Yes, they do. And Patricia, you're as un-American can be. And this says everything. Your chairman said what you just did. Half a nut, fuck you. And that's from your chairman, Russ Cheney. Now you can go do the legal deal, tell me shut up. I will say this. You can do what you want. But do you know something? As my dear departed mother always said, the cream always rises to the top. But in your case, spoiled milk rises faster. Brandon, we're going to leave it here. With one last little tiny step, we have a candid picture of Joe Batia there talking to a Chinese national. See him smiling. You also see Xi Jinping urinating on both federal agencies and corporations, and they still stay there, like Lockheed Martin, like Boeing, like United Technologies, and so many others. I leave it here, Brandon, and this video today is to enhance Brandon Bochenski's information so that you know why the FBI drags their feet. You will find those two articles, the article and my video down below, and some other interesting facts down below. Please do not hesitate to contact me. My telephone number is 203-556-1493. And remember this, Brandon, this is ANSI's words. This is Russ Cheney's words. Half a nut, fuck you, a 104-year-old organization that's set up to degrade and disgrace the United States of America. And you know why they're impervious? Because they have the FBI on board, the FTC, the DOD, the DOJ. They have the FDA, the FAA. You have Boeing and Lockheed sitting over there. So every time a plane goes down, the FBI comes in and investigates, and you hear nothing of what happened in the investigation. So they protect themselves. Well, now their protection has come to an end. Get up and do something. Contact me, ladies and gentlemen, business owners, my fellow citizens. Because if we don't stand up now, ANSI is going to half a nut fuck all of us. And that's by Russ Cheney. 203-556-1493 or Daryl, TQRS, @yahoo.com. And I thank you.